All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve with the Alliance of the Sacred Sons. I have a huge new update that I want to go over some of the major features. This is going to be a feature video, so it is not going to be a Let's Play. So as such, we're not going to go into extreme detail on the individual turns. It's more about the actual new concepts and new processes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you will notice is that you will now be able to choose Military House Tradition. I'll go ahead and set my name. Good old Hawkstorm. You can put up to 90 points into Military Tradition. Now what this will do, this will give you more ships. It will give you better trained admirals and better overall trained military forces. So, but the early for Military Tradition, it will give you more ships to start with. We'll get into the system in a little bit. So let me go ahead and finish getting set up and go ahead and let it thing. Another thing you may notice is that the turn generation has greatly increased even while adding a new system and adding several additional smaller pieces of functionality. An average turn, this is a fairly large, I set the empire size on fairly large. It should only take about 10 seconds or so to generate a turn, as you can see. Now, I do have a fairly fast computer, but still, even on a mid-range, it should take no more than about 20-25 seconds. So, all right. So, first of all, the main screen, this is pretty much what the final main screen is going to look like. You have your Emperor over here. You have the house. You have house power. You have a new spirit bar. This shows, basically, it's a repeater of this bar here that shows your current spirit. We talked a little bit about spirit in the last couple of episodes, so to speak, but basically it's your state of mind. The higher your spirit, the more AP you have, action points, the better your health may go, and of course the converse. The worse your spirit, then the lower that your AP may go, and you're kind of in a poor state of mind. So we have over here, we've moved the alert bar, is now here. So this is kind of actionable alerts. You can see they light up if it's something you can click on. This is an actual event, so when it clicks on it, it opens up your events. We'll just kind of open this up. Up here has now been replaced. I need to update the tooltip, but this is now your ship component pool. You have a global ship component pool. This is also changed. This is your Empire ADM pool, and this is part of the new project system or the Revamped project system. You no longer have ADM that's generated it's generated through planets, but now you have a universal pool. They're not necessarily held just by viceroys or system governors or province governors. We'll kind of come back to this, but we also now have these two functional buttons. We have a turn summary. It gives you potential goals, potential issues. It gives you your flow, which I guess your resource flow, high or low over last turn, and your power change. Now, since this is the first turn, there is no power change. This also gives you the two main methods of defeat and victory. You have your Overlord victory, which is fairly new. Essentially, you need to overthrow the council, dissolve the Celestial Council, and survive for 2 years, which is 8 turns. And then economic collapse, which basically means that your empire is bankrupt and you have no money in your house treasury to make up the difference, so your empire essentially collapses. So we have an event summary. It kind of shows you the different events here. You can see we have nothing bad, unfortunately. We have 4 positive events. And again, you can click on most of these. For example, factories have been built on Vanguard. We can click in and we go into the system. And then from there, of course, we can go into Vanguard and kind of take a look at what's been built. So kind of getting back out of that, we also now have a new project screen. So this bar has completely been replaced. Right now, there are no known active projects in the Empire, but this will show you all active projects that are known both by your house and other house. We'll obviously get to see how that works shortly. We have now added the military nexus. It now actually does quite a bit. Right now you have an overview. You can assemble a new force, which we'll get to in a bit. It's a new concept, and of course you can check production of your shipyards and of your overall production. So you can now zoom into province mode. To do that, you just highlight. You go into any constellation, click on it, and it will take you directly to the province. And when it's on a province, it will only highlight the individual systems that are in the province. Owner, a civilization owner, and then you can talk to the province governor directly. To get out of that, you just simply move around or you right click. Everything else is pretty much the same. So let's talk a little bit about the military system, because that has been obviously the most changed. So the first thing to understand is that the logistical network idea has completely changed. So logistical networks are now no longer based in systems, and they're no longer built by other houses. They're built by you, and they're actually freestanding components. So if we zoom in, you can see they're kind of out here in space. So the idea is that they are connected to your home hub, and they connect these other constellations, hopefully, ideally, to basically be able to travel throughout your empire. If a system is not connected, then it can only basically stay within its own logistical complex, wherever that is. And I'll kind of show you how that works. So we're going to look at Serpentine. You can see right now it is not connected to the empire, and you see the circles are rather small. We'll show you why in a moment. But let's go ahead and get out of there. We got a little. Looks like it's sitting right on top of the. All right, so we'll go to Serpentine here. We'll go to 0. Another thing you can see is that now you have projects, because we've lost the project bar. You now see that they are now here when it's generated. So if I go into 0 and I go into, say, economic mode, I have these projects that are available. If I go into demographic mode, I have these projects that are available. So essentially they were over here and now they've been moved here. They will be tool tipped with similar information on what you saw on the project bar. But anyway, so we're going to take a look at, we talked about, so here's the economic view. So you see here we have some new unrest factors. They're 100% were cut off from the empire. This is a bad thing because houses don't like to be cut off from the empire. It hurts trade, which I'll show you in a minute. And it also makes the citizens unhappy because they can't relocate. If they're not from the population, then they can't relocate. So that's kind of a bad thing. So get back into, well, here, let me show you this. So here is economic mode. So you remember, if you've played for a while, these used to be either red, yellow, or green. From the province into the New Terra, from the province trade hubs. Well, now you have an additional color. You have gray. Gray means that there is no link from that logistical trade center to the empire. So essentially that province cannot send supplies and it cannot trade with the home empire. We don't know yet if it's would trade, because right now that's not, it just can't make it. Okay, so that's something that we have to fix. So going back to logistical, so right now the radius is determined by how much money is put into the military, and of course by the level of logistical stations. So level 1 logistical stations, if in fact we can even click on it here. So right now has a range of 417 units, which is not very much at all, and that is primarily because of the funding. Now of course from here we can upgrade the network, and they can go all the way up to level 3. They cost a certain amount per turn. So let's kind of go into our budget and kind of go into that a little bit more. Now this is our overview. This is your war prime. This basically is the person that's running your military network. This shows their military skill, which is 100, which is as good as it can get. This is their admin skill, which is a 4, and this determines the force cap. The force cap is going to be your war prime's admin skill plus 2, and this is the amount of forces that the war prime can essentially run without having a penalty to effectiveness. Forces are basically like fleets. And then their trust factor is 50. That's important because not in this build, but in future builds, admirals and war primes may actually be able to take your fleets if they're sufficiently disloyal or unhappy. So, and then here you have your overall house military power, and that's kind of a combination of your logistical stations and your forces and your ships that are essentially mothballed. They're awaiting orders. So you see right now we have a force cap of 6 and a force number of 3, which means we have 3 forces. We have total system defenses of 272. So the way system defenses work essentially is they're like an outer layer of defense, and ships can also be added to this or in forces. So if an enemy force tries to come into the system, they first must get through the system defenses. And system defenses can be depleted but not destroyed. Think of them, they're kind of widely dispersed guns and missile bases, and it's not just kind of like a one base thing. They're kind of scattered throughout the system. And here's your logistical network coverage. It's 21%. And the reason it's 21% is because right now our military budget only has 125 billion credits in it, which is a budget efficiency of 35%. But we need quite a bit more to fully fund our military, and that's a big difference in this build. Optimum budget needs shipyards right now. There's only I think I saw there's only one running. You can kind of look. It only takes 2 billion credits a year because it's a small one, so it doesn't take much. Forces, the forces that I have out there to run at optimum efficiency, right now they take 156 billion credits, and when the logistical centers take 200 billion credits. So right now, all the budget priorities are set. You can actually change the priority of these. You can make them high, normal, low. So right now we really want to pump up the logisticals. So we have very few in shipyards. Our forces right now don't need to do much. They're mainly going to be used for scouting. So we'll go ahead and, as you see, as I change to the priorities, this is the percentage that of the requirement based on the budget that's set now. Now we can't get to 100% because we don't have that much, in our budget. We only have 125 billion credits, so we can't make 200 out of that. So, but we can shunt as much of that as possible towards logistical centers. So now when I save the changes, I get back out. Now you can see that the circles have gotten a little bit bigger, but they're still not touching. By the way, green means it's connected to the Empire. Yellow means that it is not connected to the Empire. And red, let's say we want to turn off a logistical network. We can actually do that. You see the active cost went down considerably, and now you see it's red. So even if this was connected, it would actually be yellow because this is considered not to exist. So let's go ahead and turn that back on. Obviously, we're using action points doing that, but I'm just kind of trying to make a point. So let's go back to the economics screen. Now we've added, obviously this is going to get an upgrade as part of the remaining UI upgrade. Really about the only things that are left are the character screens and the comm screens associated, and then the Nexus screens, which is exciting. We're getting close. So right now we need 358 billion credits in order to fully fund the military. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and do that. Because we're really not playing. If I was playing for real, I probably wouldn't put that much in because that wouldn't leave us much for anything else. But for purposes of just demonstrating, we'll go ahead and do that. Actually, I'm going to do that. All right, upcoming budget, boom. All right, so now, whoa, look at our circles. What do they do? Well, it's because we're now basically fully funded. So if we go back to our military nexus, we can see now we're at 100% because we now have a full budget effectiveness. So we put in a little extra, but basically we are fully funded. So everything, we have our needs fully met. Logisticals are at 200. So now when I change priority, see now I'm at 100% because now I can fully fund it. So, all right. So now you can see that these are connected and these are connected. These are barely just not quite connected because they're a little bit too small. So how can we connect? How can we make these people happy? So we need to expand our network, and that's very easy to do. All you have to do is upgrade the network. So you just basically click on here and it will give you the new range. It adds 2,000 range. This is the resource cost, and it comes out of here, out of your house resources, the 25 billion credits, 2,000 energy, 200 heavy, and 20 rare. Pretty much all military and space use heavy and rare. Pretty much all planetary use basic, so that's kind of a big thing. And then the upgrade time is 1 turn currently. We may change that to be a little bit more, but right now for testing we just have it 1 turn. So we'll go ahead and do that. Notice that it costs one action point. So, and boom, now you see that it's green. This will change to a 2 next turn when it's complete, and next turn you will see that this will turn. It will basically not be gray because they will be connected. So it takes basically the end of the turn for it to fully populate. So when a logistical network is really, it's not just a base per se. I mean, there is a base, but think of it as kind of a collection of small refueling stations and routes. It basically, as long as you're within this area, you won't run out of fuel or supplies. You don't start using supplies until you're actually either conducting a specific operation like an attack operation or a bombing operation, or you're outside of this network. And that can happen as a scout, as a construction unit, or you got stranded basically. Let's say you were moving and then, this was open and then for whatever reason this got turned off. Well, now suddenly this would no longer be connected and you would be starting to use supplies. So that's basically how that works. Now, these are forces. So what forces are basically, they're armies and they're fleets, if we want to think of it that way. So we have 3 main types of forces. The red ones are the attack forces. The purplish ones are scouting, and then the greenish ones are construction. Now forces can have several different types. Right now, depending on, again, your military skill, you may start out with some. So if we zoom in a little bit, you can see Walden actually has a few because they are very militaristic. Waldegrave is a Spartan society, so they tend to have a bonus. So we'll just take a look. So let's click on one here. You see when you click on one that's multi-set, it highlights, and then you have your command bar. So right now, all you can do, because it's not your force, it belongs to another house, all you can do is take a look at the information if you know about it. So we click on there, and we have force information. So it tells you what type it is, who owns it, the effectiveness, which is 91%. It can go no higher than 100. Effectiveness, essentially how well it does its job. The higher the number, the better the stats are. Combat power is 49, which is important because it's a combat force. Right now it's idle. It's just kind of sitting there. It's got full health, full supply, and it's sitting in Olympia. This is the admiral of the force, and this is the composition. So right now it's made of 1 command destroyer and then 2 attack destroyers. And these are what are called templates, and I'll show you what those are in a minute. Templates are how you build forces. The nice thing about templates is it makes it very easy to raise a new force. There's quite a bit of flexibility in how you raise it, and you don't actually have to have a complete force. Like, you don't have to fill every single slot. It just won't be as effective. So we can take a look at the individual destroyer. We can see it over here. They're all named. Now, the smaller names are, DE or CE, but we have the Celestial Empire Navy. And here is going to be a schematic of the ship, and then the ship art itself. These are kind of placeholders right now. So, and it just kind of gives you some information about the individual ship. So it's not as important, but some people like to kind of see the details, of the individual ships. And you can see the command ships actually create command, and basically you have to have a command ship. If you don't have a command ship in your force, they generate command points, and then each ship uses this amount of command. And if you have fewer command points than you have command, or more, if you have fewer command points than you have command in your force, then it's going to affect the effectiveness. So basically it's a command and control. If you lose your command ship or you don't have a command ship, then your effectiveness is going to plummet. So you definitely probably don't want to build a force without a command unit. The good news is it will always try to fill the command unit first. So that's basically that. Just right click to get out. So we've been talking about forces. Let's go ahead and click on the military nexus, talk a little bit about that. So here is how you can build force. Now again, it's very, very easy. I know in most games like this, you build you outfit your ships, you outfit your destroyers or your frigates, and you put weapons on them, and then you assign them to a fleet, and then you give the fleet orders, and we wanted to make it a lot easier because, again, as the emperor, this is how you play. You are not the war prime. The war prime would actually be responsible for creating these templates and making sure we pick the right ships. Your job is to say, hey, I want to have more scout forces. So there are 4 different sizes of templates. So we have light, medium, heavy, and capital. So basically they're bigger. So let's say we have a medium scout fleet. So you see, we'll just do attack force. Okay, so it's a lot bigger. We have 2 destroyers, 2 cutters, 3 frigates optimally, 2 attack destroyers, and 1 what we call interdiction destroyer. So these are kind of the different roles. So you have scout ships, and they're kind of meant to kind of scout the vanguard, and they give you a bonus in defense and attack. Obviously, you need 2 destroyers because you need more command points. So you see here, this particular template, to fully fit it out, would need 10 of these ships. So right now I only have 8 of them. I have my 2 destroyers, I have my command, I have 2 cutters, but I'm missing kind of my heavy hitters. I've only got 3 out of the 5 ships that I need for attack. So my effectiveness is significantly reduced because this is a combat force. So if I don't have command attack ships, it's not going to be super effective. So it shows you the effectiveness, and then it shows you the force, the total hit points, supply points, the speed, which is the slowest ship, and that's going through. Going through space, combat power, and then defense. You see, it has a pretty high defense. Defense. Smaller ships tend to actually have better defense because speed is a big part of that. And then they have a scouting component, and then if they're a construction, you'll also see that here. This shows you the running costs. 41 billion credits a year to have this fleet at full effective, or force at full effectiveness, and they run through. If they are outside this nexus here, again outside this for any reason, they will burn supply at 44% a turn, which means they'd be out in about after 2 turns. So the key word is you don't want to let your supply networks, your logistical networks, go down if you can help it. So normally, if I say, yep, this looks like a good force, all I have to do is click this button, but it costs 2 AP to create a force. I don't have enough AP, and it will actually muster at your home world starbase. So other houses can do this as well. Obviously, you're only picking for your own house. And you can see we have different choices. Now, we have other choices for light space combat. There's a couple of different ones. You can see this is a bigger one. So if, let's say I don't want to spend 44, there's a slightly less effective one. If we want to scout, we have different sizes of scout. See, this has 16 scouting, but costs a little bit more because it's bigger. This is a 3, only 6, but it's cheaper. And it depends on what you can build as well. And then this is like the absolute smallest one you can build here. It only costs 12 building credits a year, but it has 9 scouting. So this is literally the smallest thing you could put out there. So it actually is so small it doesn't need command points. So you can see it's 100% effectiveness because we can actually fill all the slots. So we could actually, if we had enough AP, we could actually build this force immediately, but we'll do that next turn. So now building more ships. So you see that we need 1 and 1, 1 and 2. So, we try to build, well, what do we have here? A medium attack force. Okay, so let's say, okay, we need more frigates. We want to build this one. Like, well, we need 2 more. Well, we could go ahead and build it, but it'd be less effective because we don't have nearly enough attack ships. But, okay, let's just build 2 more frigates. Well, how do we do that? Well, we go to production, and we have shipyards. Now, shipyards are built through projects. They can be built on the planet as a military project. So if you want to take a look, and this is going to be updated, this actually is going to have a button so that you can change both the size of the shipyard and the production. Each shipyard produces a specific type of ship. They produce a certain amount of, depending on the size of the shipyard, they produce a set amount of what are called ship points. And ship points are generated from components. So every 3 components, it takes 3 components a turn to generate these ship points. And they come out of your ship component pool. And every house has their own ship component pool. So you don't have to worry about moving components between planets that they're built on. It's just assumed to be kind of a network of transports that do that for you. Now, from here, you can turn off the shipyard completely, and that means it will go to active cost. Now, shutting this one down wouldn't really help us because it doesn't cost us very much, but let's say you had a couple of larger capital size shipyards that you just couldn't afford because you were having budget issues. You could actually turn it off from here and it would save you the money. Here, you can also, if you have a whole bunch and you just have a terrible budget problem, you can do a crash budget stop. You can stop all production and it will turn it off. At a bonus, it'll only cost you 2 action points instead of going through 1 individually. And then you can overdrive production as well. This will increase your production by 25%, but it will also increase your cost to do so, and it will take more components. So and you don't, basically it costs many more components than the percentage. So you would only use that when you have a need to really get ships out quickly. So it is not an efficient way of producing. You see here the maximum ship size is a destroyer. That means we can only build destroyers, cutters, and frigates. There are 10 different types of ships in the game. They are accessed through research. You can research them through what we call right now practical reforms. That's actually going to be changed to simply science. It's going to be military science projects, and then societal science projects. They used to be called reforms. You'll see that when we update the science screen. So that's pretty much what you can do. There's going to be a 4th tab shortly that's going to show your overall forces. You'll also be able to disband a force from there, and that will release the ships. That, let's say you had these ships, that will release them all back into the pool. So very quickly, let's do this. Let's show you how we scout and then how we do construction. So let's say we want to build, let's say we want to start moving over to Arachne. We want to start exploring here. Well, we can't get there, okay? We have to scout it first. So so normally we would send a scout because scouts have a longer range. So when I click on them, you see how you actually see the longer range. So if we try to move somewhere, these little nodes will let us move anywhere here. But oh, we can't quite get to Arachnia because we don't have the range yet. So what we need to do is we need to build a new logistical network over in that direction. So to do that, we use a construction force. So we see we have a construction force, construct value of 36. So we click on it, And here we have special commands. By the way, the way this is set out, this is always your information, and these are your hotkeys. Your base commands are always going to be move, attack, and intercept. I will show you how move occurs next turn because I'm going to run out of AP. And then over here are special commands. If you have scouting, and then this is for building a new station, logistical network. So we'll go ahead and do that. And of course, it's sensitive to only what you can do with that particular fleet. So we'll click on it. And you see we have a little targeting reticule. So we can actually zoom in and we say, okay, I want to build it, I want to start building it here, knowing I'm going to expand it so that I can start reaching out to this constellation. So I'm going to build it here, and then I'm going to confirm it. It's going to cost me this in resources and time. It'll take 3 turns for the ship to actually get out there, and then 1 turn to build, so 4 turns. And it's going to cost me 1 AP. So I'll go ahead and save changes. So now you can see I'm out of AP. So now when I try to select the ship, you can see now it's moving to logistical network build site. So it's on its way. All right, so pretty much, so we'll go ahead and right click. And you always right click, so when you're selecting, you can select, left click selects, you see the border. You can either pick what you need to do, right click always gets you out. So, all right, so let's go ahead and just finish up. Science hasn't changed yet. We'll just go ahead and do that. All right, let's do next turn. And I want to go ahead and move it to here to kind of show you now that we've connected Serpentine to the rest of the empire, what it does to the economics. So, this is one way of really kind of controlling the expansion. Okay, now you see how it turned red, which means it can now connect, but they don't want to trade with us, which is kind of a whole other story. But at least now it's connected. So you see now it's connected. This now says LGC2. It's been fully done, and you see the ship's on its way to go do its thing. All right, so we've got some new comms. So we've got new events. That's all going to be over here. Now we see someone has started a project. You see we have these little numbers here. So we've got 9 new events. So we'll click on there. You see this is the change from last turn. Now that does not include one-off. This is only resource flow. So it's not going to show, we know we built a logistical network and we expanded one, but it's not going to show that. And we did add 31 power last turn. Potential goals, these are things. This is actually going to kind of replace the Grand Vizier screen. What we've done is we've kind of conflated that screen into this. And then the event summary, because you access it quite a bit. So any issues will show up here. Anything that could, economic collapse, or you're running out of money, or your power is low, or you have a challenge, it will show up here. All right, so the event summary, you see we have critical. We have our 2 comm requests, which we already have over here, and then we have a critical event. So anything that's critical will always show up over here. These are things that you need to respond to. They're not always things that will stop the turn from happening, but you probably should know that you have a new progress point for your emperor. You should probably know that someone wants to talk to you. You can let them go. That's why this 3 is here. After 3 turns, they will stop trying to contact you, but you'll take a big reputation hit with their house and a personal hit with them. So you're ignoring them. Anyway, so we have Sirius. So we have lost one of our Inquisitor squads because, as you recall, we didn't have enough money to pay them. So you can see the Intel budget is 30 and my Inquisitors cost 90, so there's a pretty good chance they'll be leaving. Okay, getting back to that. And then moderate population has changed. That means that we've lost population. Military spending brought a ton of and this is actually going to change. This is kind of an old, this is before we had the forces. Forces actually help maintain order through just basically orbiting and being there. And then positive events, farms being built, and then domestic spending, lowers unrest. Unfortunately, we spent very little on it, so it didn't really do much for us. So let's take a look at the project bar. Now, this is a project by Bar 1. You can see I really don't know much about it because all I know is it's being done on Magnuson, and this guy's doing it, and that is literally all I know. So if I go to here, if I go to Bar 1, I can see I don't know much because my intel is very low. See how, basically it's yellow. So I'm really not going to know very much about what they're doing. Like I know they're interested in territory, but I don't know how they're trying to do it. So that's something where I would probably want to assign an Inquisitor to Bar 1 if I wanted to learn more information. So, they're assigned. Again, we're not really getting into that in this one, but that's how you learn. So from here, if it's my own project, and we'll get into project in just a second because that's another big part of the setup. But you can also, not in this build, but we've set the UI for it, you'll be able to assign an Inquisitor to potentially try to sabotage the project as a special op. So that's kind of a new thing that's coming up. So, all right. So let's talk about projects. So let's do this. So normally as we play the game, we want to look at, okay, who do we want to help? Well, Curly Finn is pretty strong, and their their house leader is very strong. They have an 834 power, which is really strong. So I probably want to make nice with this person. So I'm going to do something nice for them. I'm going to build them a starbase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the system, and I'm going to go into their planet, which is Bannock, and we're going to go into economic mode. So you can see the planet projects are here, and we're going to take a look at what they have right now. So they have a province trade hub, which is great, but they only have a level of 1. So they would really benefit from a starbase expansion. It will help them actually trade more and bring more merchants. Right now they only have 8 merchants. So I'm going to go ahead and build them a starbase, which is here. And again, these will be tool-tipped, but you can always click on it and see what it is. So so now this is a new screen. This is the new the project system has been significantly revamped. So you don't have to worry about creating these individual chains. You know, you don't have to worry about relationships so much with ADM anymore, and especially about losing ADM like it used to be, where if you had a project on a planet, you know, and you used the entire province's, you know, viceroys and system governors, you would lose all of that ADM, and then it would kind of leave you stuck. And houses were kind of calling on the same problem. So what we did is we went to a pool system where you have 527 ADM or however much, and that's actually contributed, and actually now I can show you. So this is generated by the different houses. So you can see Hawkstorm, that's me. I'm contributing my full ADM, and that's generated by admin complexes on planets, 179 ADM. And then the other houses are giving me 50%. So allies give me 100%, cooperative, neutral, Cold War give me 50%, and then limited and total war do not give me anything. So so they kind of all pool, and this is the ADM that they have for themselves. So when you add this up, it comes up with the 527, so they are contributing. So let's go ahead and go back to building the starbase. So the first thing we need to do, we need a leader. We don't have any button leaders, so we can only pick a leader. Now, so we go back to overview, so we don't know what the ADM allocation is yet. This is a very helpful tooltip. This basically shows you the flow. So let's go ahead and pick a leader. And we want a leader that has a high admin efficiency. It goes from 0 to 100. And the higher the percentage, basically that's the percentage of admin that can go through them. Like in other words, if you had 100 admin and you had a project leader with 100 admin efficiency, you would actually be able to get that entire 100 admin. But if they had a 50 efficiency, you would only be able to use 50 ADM. So you want someone with a high efficiency, and I want to try to give it to someone in that's actually with Curly Finn, because it's their project and I'm trying to make nice with them. So this guy, okay, he has a 2 ADM or admin skill, which means he can use 2 administrators, 2 contributors to help build funds. So we'll go ahead and pick him. So we just click. So this is our selection. So now we can go back to overview. So now we can see kind of there's 16 ADM allocated per turn. You see how we got there. So we started out with 527. We only have the 1 active project that's pending, which is this one. Our project leader cuts that basically in half right from there. So now we have 257 ADM. It then gets filtered through the province governor, which you can see is terrible. It's capped at a low of 25%. So they obviously have a very low efficiency rating. So we're losing a lot of ADM through them. And then it goes to the system governor. Now it's in yellow because this is not our system. If we were building up our own system, it would not be in yellow, and there would be a skill bonus. But because it's not ours, there's an automatic 25% malice to the this efficiency. So you can see by the time we go through and we've got 3 people of pretty low skill, we're only really getting 16 ADM per turn. So that means it will take about 32 turns. So that's going to take us forever. So we have a choice. We can probably pick a better leader. Just to kind of show you, we'll pick this person at 72. So now you can see it's down to 22 turns, which is not great, but now you see I have much more starting. I have 72%. So now, you know, it's basically, you know, you have these links in the chain, and if you have a weak link, it will basically cut you out. So we'll go ahead and leave him. Normally I would try to probably find a different province governor or give it to a different house, which is a huge boon, but I'm just going to kind of I'm just here to basically show you how to do things. So you can see here, the project power gain. So there's 20 power gain from this project of building a starbase. I get 10 of that, so that would go to my power once it's started. And then the remaining 20 is assigned among the leader and then the contributors. So let's go ahead and pick the contributors. So this is very simple. This is their personal treasury, and this is how much they would contribute to the project. So most people will only contribute to projects if they either it's for their house, or it's for your house and for you the emperor, or if they like the project leader. So since I have, if we go back, since I have me as the house leader, so most of the people on here are going to be Kierley Finn because it's their project or it's benefiting them, and then of course my own house. So I don't have a whole lot of people that are willing to help. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it to my terrible provincial governor, who you can see low intelligence, has a 15 government rating. That's down there in the lower left. So yeah, he's probably someone that if I were playing for real, I probably would not have him fund. Well, actually, I probably would. I probably want to get something out of him before I sacked him. So we'll go ahead and select him. You can see because I have he has an ADM of 6. I can actually pick 6 different ones. So if I want to give out a little bit of power to individual people, or if I just don't have that many, I can pick from here. So now you can see I'm now fully funded. I'm at 100%. So we initiate, costs 2 action points to do. So now you see a couple things happen. So now this is updated. So now we go here. Okay, there's build, expand, starbase. That's my person. No progress. We expect it will take 22 turns. And now here I can cancel the project if I want. And this is something new as well. Before, once you start a project, you were just stuck with it. Now you can cancel the project. It costs 1 AP. If I'm not going to click it, but if I did, this would basically go away, and this person would be freed up to assign. But of course, it would annoy very much the house whose project it's for. In this case, Kierley Finn. So we're not going to do that. All right. So we have a new. So this is also a new concept. You see, this is in yellow. You see how these are in normal colors, and this is yellow. This means that it will not cost you anything to open this. This is basically a hail, but these are free for you. They don't cost you action points, whereas these are comms, and they do cost you 1. So you can open these without fail. These tend to generate as in reaction to events and things you do. So let's go ahead and click on it. Waldegrave, that won't do. That just won't do. Forgetting about House Waldegrave, a mistake you won't make often, I promise. So basically, they're unhappy that they were left out of the project. Waldegrave is a Spartic house. They're very militaristic, and they tend to be very upset when you are perceived as being slighted. So that is not a surprise. That's working as intended. So sometimes you'll get people saying thank you. I'm grateful that you're trying to help us. The comms have been expanded quite a bit in this build. You'll see a lot more, and they'll be more in line with their house personality. Kierley Finn is a little bit more chill. They're a science house. Hawken is also a science house. Waldegrave is Spartic. So you can kind of see here. See, they're Spartic, and then of course they have a 90 military tradition. So yeah, and you can also see their reputation already dropped because they were unhappy about being left out. Whereas with Kierley Finn, they're happy that I'm building something for them. They didn't say so per se, but they're happy that I'm building them a starbase. So that's kind of a way to increase your reputation with the house. So so I promised I would show how to move fleets or forces. I keep saying fleets. I don't know. So we're going to have so a couple of cool things about what forces can do. Let's say we want to take a new system. Okay, now you can see my influence here. Let's say Magnuson is somewhat limited. I'm just barely have more influence than these other houses. When you claim a system, which is basically how you can start building and colonizing a system, you have to have the most influence. Now, influence can come through diplomatic and economic, which is what this influence is, or you can simply go the other way, and you can send a fleet. Now, we have a combat value of 70. That's a pretty decent fleet. So what we're going to do is we're going to move them over here. It's going to take 2 turns, and we're going to confirm. We don't have any suitable plans for the order because we don't own any plans, so we can just have them simply move to the system. They're going to contribute to the system defense. That's what they do by default, but it basically moves them into the system. You can see it costs 2. We confirm. We hit accept, and then they'll be moving to that system. And then we can also scout. Let's say we want to scout, and let's say we want to scout this planet over here. So we have a scouting command. You can see we have the different ETAs, these nodes. By the way, a blue node is a system, and a green node is a logistical network hub. So we want them to go over here. We want to kind of see what's over here. It's a little far away. So we'll go ahead. So we can either scout the system, which costs 2, and that basically increases the scouting of that particular system and let you know what's in there if you don't already know. Or we can try to scout an individual planet. Now, this one, there may not be any planet. Actually, here, let's back out. Let's completely back out. Let's see if we even know what's in there right now. Okay, so we don't even know. So we cannot pick a planet because we don't know what planets are there. So we have to scout the system. So we will do that. So we'll go back here. We'll go to the scout. We'll go ahead. And you can see, and again, you have the 2 zoom modes. There's no right or wrong to using them. It's just sometimes easier to read. So we'll go ETA. We'll scout the system. We'll confirm scoring code. Again, cost 2 AP. Hit accept. And boom. So they're on their way. And of course, you can always back out. And you see we're now down to 0 again. So we'll go ahead and do this event. Yay, spirit increase. And we'll go ahead and go next turn. And kind of let things, and again, you see how quickly that the turns are processing now. They used to take 20, 30 seconds. Now, typically, they take about 10, depending on how much you have. See, it's already done. So, really cool. So, very excited about this build. And it is actually available now if you currently have the game. So now you can see these are going to get replaced. There are going to be little ship icons in the next build. We just got them in. We just get a chance to put them in the build. You see they're headed towards the system. And the 16 scout value, every point of scouting adds 3 to the intel progress of the system. So if you have a scouting value of 33, then you can scout an entire system in basically 1 turn, which is 3 months. You can kind of work backwards from there. All right, well, that's pretty much all the major stuff. Now you can see we've added another project. See, we've made some progress. Whatever they're building, they're working on it fast. So it's almost done. I've made just my tiny bit of progress here. And you can also see, the health. The health actually matters because administrators or project leaders can die. And the more unhealthy they are, the more inefficient they are. So if they're on their deathbed, they're not going to be able to administer a project very well, and that's going to affect the ETA. And that's where you see the expected ETA might have been 22 turns, but now the current ETA, if they're lying on their deathbed, might be 44 because the efficiency has changed. So we're still kind of working out the UI on that, but that is basically how it works. So there's that. That is pretty much. I want to go do one more turn because I want to show you the build because this should be here next turn, and we'll go ahead and we'll see what they have to say. Why not? This has been improved. Okay, well, we'll just go ahead and lose the power. They want money. We'll give them money. Why not? All right, and free action points. We'll have them move. And then what I'll also show you on this last turn is you'll notice that this constellation, this province Ziggurat, has actually been cut off for several turns. So I want to show you the effects of that when a system has been cut off for a while. Okay, so now you see this has been built. So now it's sitting there awaiting orders. So you can see it's available. It's at the build site, basically awaiting orders. It's sitting there idle, which is cool. It can now be sent back. It can now be sent doing other things. The scout still on its way, almost there. All right, so let's zoom in. Let's see what's going on here in the system. So we've got Copernica. Oh, and this is, yes, this is the new military view in the system mode. So we can now see shipyards. You can see if they have shipyards, which actually Kirley Finn has 2. We can't see what they're building yet because we don't have that intel. And you would also be able to see, in fact, I'll just go here to show you what that looks like. You can see forces in this view too. So if they have any forces there, you're able to see them here in this view as well, and you can actually click on them and look at them here. We'll do it. I don't have any forces there, so let's go here. Okay, so you can see here. So we can see we have Olympia and we have Walden. We can click on there, and then of course we can see the force and the ships within the force. So as long as we know they're there, and then we can see that they also have shipyards as well, though we can't see what they're building. So anyway, there's a lot in this. There's a lot in this update. So I'm sorry if it seems kind of jumpy, but there's a lot going on. So we'll go back here. What we're going to go to in the first place. Okay, we'll look at Copernica, and we'll take a look at their, okay, so their public order is getting a little bit low, 84%. It's still high, but it's not great. But you can see, again, 100% were cut off from the empire, which means they can't trade. It means they can't go to other planets that are not within the individual system itself. So if they, if there's jobs to be had over here, in Enosis or in these provinces over here, if they want to go to Apollo, well, guess what? They can't get there because you can see they're cut off. And houses generally don't like being cut off. So Kearley Finn, this is something that if they decide, right now they haven't wrapped me for it yet, but if they get tired of being cut off, that's one of their AI goals, is trying to establish contact with the Empire. And some houses don't care so much about it. They tend to be isolationist. Kearley Finn's actually pretty calm about that sort of thing, but I promise you Waldegrave and Barhuan would be very upset, and they would be screaming at you to restore their network. So, in this build, also getting the house personalities are really starting to come out. So, all right, well, those are kind of the main points. That's all the big stuff for now. So thank you for sticking with me this long, and we'll continue to update the military system. The next major build will have the ground system. You'll have ground combats, and you'll also be able to attack planets and forces. So you'll have a special setup for that. So that's all for now. Thank you very much. Have a great day.